What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Lambo Plays podcast, episode 105, UFC 305. I'm your host, Mike, along with my co-host, Timothy Troiano. We're doing it this time on a Saturday. Sorry, yesterday, a lot of stuff happening, a lot of family stuff. But I'm here today to kind of give you guys some of our Lambo plays here for this UFC 305 card. I think it's a pretty good card overall. Not that bad. There is some squash matchups, as we can call them, but something's going on with Twitter. It's not letting me go live there for some reason. I don't know what's going on there. Yeah. That's weird. But yeah, Tim, how do you feel about this card while I look at to see what's going on with this Twitter thing?
I think it's a good card. I mean, sometimes I look at these pay-per-views and I'm like, I don't want to pay for this, but this one I'll pay for. I think you're going to get some good fights and probably some violence in some of these as well. So yeah, I'm excited for it. Love the main event. It's been hyped up for a while. So yeah, I think it's going to be a really good card.
All right. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with Twitter. I can't seem to have it play on there for whatever reason. Who knows what's going on? Kind of weird because it just says for some reason I can't play it. I don't know. It says you need a professional or thing, but I do have that. Huh. Premium account? I don't know what the heck this is. What is going on? I have no idea. Okay. Anyways, something's going on. I have no idea what the hell it is, but we'll start here. 91 people in here. First fight of the night. It's in the flyweight division. It is the 8-0 Stewart Nicole versus the 10-2 Jesus Agalar, and kick us off here.
Interesting fight. We've got two really, really small guys in the ring. Think typically when Agalar fights, everybody's kind of on the physical metrics for him because he's 5'4" and he's got Corey McKenna arms. And I think in this fight, he's only an inch shorter than Nickel, and Nickel has like slightly bigger than Corey McKenna arms at 65 inches. So he's only got like a 3-inch reach in this fight. Some things that kind of concern me a little bit about Jesus is he's got 40% takedown defense. He just loves to go for like guillotines as his takedown defense, and then he gets down, but he does work his way back up in fights. He's also a solid grappler. He's a solid wrestler. He's not great, but he's not bad. Offensively, I mean, Nickel, I really don't know what to think of about this guy. I can't. He seems to be just can smashing dudes, and in a promotion that really isn't a big promotion. So I don't know if he's like, I don't like his striking that much. I think it's just okay. Good calf kicks, but again, really short reach, doesn't seem to have much power. Not like huge volume either. So like striking, I just think this is really close. And I think it's going to be a grapple fest where these guys are cage pushing, and we'll see, who's stronger and who has better wrestling and grappling here. I think, for fight going to decision being aligned what it is, getting Jesus by points at nobody fucks with the Jesus, by the way. That's a good reference for the Big Lebowski. If you haven't watched it, you need to see it. Jesus by points plus 450, Jesus by split plus 1200. I just think it's a close fight. I don't think either one of these guys is going to finish. Maybe a sub for Nickel, but I don't really know again where his level's at. So Jesus by points at plus 450 and Jesus by split at plus 1200 in a fight that I think probably goes and is probably pretty close from a grappling perspective.
Yeah, kind of agree with almost all your points. I think it's going to be a close fight. Agalar, better resume, way better level of opposition. Fought in the UFC already 3 times. He's 2-1. I mean, even on the regional scenes, he fought way, way better guys. Edgar Chirez, just much better level of opposition. Meanwhile, I kind of mentioned it in Liam's podcast, the Bets and Banter. I'm like, it's kind of weird that this dude, Nicole, is not even fighting on like the top promotions in Australia. Hex and what's the other one called? Eternal. He's fighting in some Queensland beatdown promotions, probably one of the worst out there. It's probably the low level, and you could see it with his opposition. They're very, very bad. He's wrestling them. He's got decent wrestling, good cardio for the most part. Pretty good jiu-jitsu. I think he's a jiu-jitsu instructor in his gym, and he's a black belt. But I think it's a close fight. I think Agalar on the feet throws a lot harder, probably has more power. He's a very good scrambler. He's tough to hold down. He's not going to just sit there and play guard or anything. This guy's going to try to get back up, sweep, and do all that stuff. Yeah, I mean, I don't understand kind of this line in general. There's a lot of hype on this Nicole guy, but he's beaten nobody. And, it's not like the other thing is it's not like he's some like young gun prospect. He's 29. It's not like he's 23, 24. There's a lot of like 29 years old, doesn't even have a lot of fights for a 29-year-old. He's 8-0. I mean, that's not a lot of fights for a 29-year-old. I really don't think this guy is that high level or that good. His striking is not very good. So it has Jesus Agalar plus 525 on Hard Rock by decision. I think is a very good line. But I worry about how often he gives up his back. I worry how often he's been put in submissions. He's been put in a lot of submissions, even on the regional scene over and over again. So I kind of don't trust him in that sense. Like he's given up way too many bad positions to Nicole. So I'm going to kind of play the Nicole sub as well here at plus 420. I think I need some exposure there just because I know he's going to have opportunities to kind of get in a position to get a submission. And, you're giving me something at 420, it's like 20%. I'm fine with it. I think he can get potentially he can get a sub here. But if not, if this fight hits the scorecards, I think it's going to be very, very close. Let's move on. Fight number 2. It is in the welterweight division. It is the 21-8 Kenan Song versus the 22-8-2 Ricky Glenn. Ricky Glenn's interview does not really bode well for him, honestly. I moving up to 170 this late in your career, he's always fought at 45, moved up to 55. Now he's at 70. I know he's a bigger guy as far as like height, but really the guy has no muscle mass. There's no muscle on his body. He's going to be way physically less stronger than these guys at 70, especially a guy like Song. And most of his game is like trying to get the fight to the ground. He hasn't got a takedown in forever. He's talking about arthritis he has. He's talking about this is the last fight of his contract. He got asked what happens if he loses. He says, I'm going to retire straight up. He said it 2 different times. He's opening up his own gym September 2nd. How hard is he training actually for this fight? And now he's fighting all the way in Australia. So with all that being said, a lot of people have been saying, Kenan Song is not worthy of, minus 100, 180, 200. I honestly think in this spot he is. Like, he's the much better striker of the two. This guy looks extremely slow and old, man. Glenn does. I don't think he's going to be able to take Song down. Song is very strong. He's got good takedown defense. And he's the much harder hitter, and this guy is there to be cracked. Last 2 fights, he got knocked out by the left hook. Song's favorite punch is the left hook. We saw him drop Ian Gary very bad with that left hook. And I think he's going to find the chin again here. It's just a matter of, is it going to be round 1 or round 2? That's my thing. And I'm going to go with just round 1 here, KO. Or just round 1. You don't even have to do, or actually, sorry, it is KO round 1. It's 340. Yeah, I mean, a lot of his knockouts are early anyways. And I think he finds the chin here in round 1 and probably Glenn retires like he said he would. You are on mute.
Rookie mistake. Yeah, I agree pretty much with everything you said, especially all the red flags. I just think Glenn is, these fighters where you see like these guys that there's two things about the situation with him. It's like the fighters that rely on their durability for most of their career. And then when their chin starts to break, like how quickly they fall off the cliff is usually pretty bad. It's pretty steep decline. And then the other thing that just pretty much isn't, it's usually a bad sign is like these fighters that at the end of their career, like move up in weight. Because you're just like, okay, either I can't make the previous weight or I'm just not training anymore. And you're just like, okay, well, these are both really bad red flags. So that's all I'd say on his side. I agree that it's going to be hard for him to get anything grappling going in this fight. I think that the KO for I think that like two ways. I think this fight probably happens in two ways. I think it's like KO 1 for Song, which you already said, or I feel like if it just could be Glenn like just avoiding the fight too. So, and just not really engaging in the fight and not really trying to get in too much and almost like just trying to survive in his last fight. So I feel like if it's not a KO 1 or early KO 2 for Song, I think he wins a pretty clear decision. And the decision's the same, kind of the same line as the KO 1. So it's plus 340. But I agree. I think it's very possible that it just could be a quit job and just an early bonk for Song as well.
All right, let's move on. Fight number 3. It is in a lightweight division. It is the 7-1 Tom Nolan versus the 13-4 Alex Reyes. And yeah, you get the squash matchup here.
This fight should not be sanctioned. I will say that first and foremost. This makes zero sense. This is just a clear setup spot for Nolan. I was really honestly hoping like that they would give Nolan somebody that could actually beat him and just hit him again and knock him out. Cause this guy is like, we're going minus 1,300 again on Nolan, and he's already been a big favorite and lost. I don't think it's going to happen with Reyes, obviously, but it's kind of stupid. Like there's really nothing that you can go on unless even if you're trying to do like a round 2 and you hope that it could get to round 2 for Nolan, it's just terrible. It's like plus 300 or plus 350. So I can't go that route because I think he wins in round 1. So I'm going to give a used Corolla and a Lambo here. Nolan on DK, Nolan to win in under a half a round is plus 165. So he has 2.5 minutes to get the finish. I think that's over 50% outcome, over 50% outcome in this fight. And then Nolan to win in under 60 seconds is plus 475. So first minute, get that kill, go out early, Alex Reyes. You know you can.
Yeah. Yeah, I kind of feel bad for Alex Reyes, fighting for his life outside of the cage and then now fighting for his life inside the cage. I watched this guy's regional scene and he seems to get hurt quite a bit, but he is tough. He's not like one of those guys who's just going to absolutely quit. The one thing I will say is I think it's kind of important in context to this fight is, the last opponent in Charlie Campbell, Charlie Campbell is a very good striker, has a lot of power. Man, he landed a lot of big shots on him. And honestly, Alex Reyes took a lot of them. I was kind of shocked. I'm like, man, how is this guy taking all these shots? He's taking all these flush shots and he's still standing, like he maybe hurt a little bit, but not really wobbled or anything. He's taken a bunch of them. It took quite a few big shots for him to finally crumble against Charlie Campbell. Kind of have a feeling Charlie Campbell, like with hands, hits harder than Nolan does. Obviously, Nolan has those knees and kicks and stuff. But Nolan honestly dropped in his last 2 fights. I don't know what to think of this guy. Like, he has weapons, but his chin and his defense are not great. I think Nolan KO 2 here, man. I think maybe Reyes can actually last here. It's probably the last fight of his contract. he almost lasted in that Charlie Campbell fight. I mean, Charlie Campbell eventually got him out of there. But I just think that this guy, Nolan, even in his last fight when he was dropped against who was that guy? Victor Martinez. He eventually finished Martinez, but it was a knee to the body that finished him. And Victor Martinez came in with a torn knee. He fought him with a torn knee, which was quite funny. But yeah, Nolan maybe finds the spark in KO2. It's 410. I don't know. I can't play these. These KO1 lines are just insane. They're minus money.
Even the KO2 lines are just, they're so hard.
Yeah. 410 is not great, but I think probably that's when he finds the finish, in round 2. I'm just hoping, Reyes shows off the good chin again, maybe clinches a bit here. And how that helps him out, the clinch and stuff to kind of kill the clock. Moving on, fight number 4. It is in a featherweight division. It is the 12-3 Jack Jenkins versus the 11-5 Herbert Burns. I will kick this one off. I like Jenkins here quite a bit. Herbert Burns, short notice, flying to Australia. He's known to gas. Jenkins has very good cardio, very good calf kicks. Good striker, athletic, good takedown defense, all the things that probably pose a lot of problems for Gilbert Burns here. He's pretty strong as well. And it's a big step down, honestly, for Jenkins coming from Emmers and Mariscal. It's a big, big step down for him, to be honest. It's funny saying that for a guy that's kind of new to the UFC, but it's a big step down. It is what it is. I think Jenkins gets it done in round 1 and 2. I just, the lines are just not great in both rounds. I'm just going to go round 2 for the hell of it at plus 280. However, I did Dutch round 1 and round 2 with this guy at like minus 140. I just feel like him finishing him in round 1 and 2 is probably a 70% outcome, if not more. So, yeah, Jack Jenkins round 2 I'll give out here at plus 280. I think that's might have some value, honestly, at plus 280. The problem is it might be round 1. So if that's the case, then just Dutch them and win whatever you can by Dutching them.
Yeah, I mean, I don't disagree that I think Jack is obviously the side. I don't think that you can rely on Burns to fight through any adversity. The only thing that would scare me off of on round 1 for a couple things is if Burns can get him down, or if he can clinch him at all in this fight, which will, this is his win condition. And then Jack hasn't historically been just an early finish kind of guy. Like he's had a lot of guys that hasn't really been able to put away really early, and he kind of cooks them later. And I just think that I'm on the same one. I mean, early in the week, I was looking at these props and just laughing because round 2 is a lower number than round 1. And it was like, what is going on here? So yeah, round 2, round 3 for me is 270, 280 and 500. If he gets him late, I don't think it gets to round 3, to be honest, but it could, if he doesn't proactively just try to get him out. But I think Burns quits a lot. Burns sub 1 is stupid, is a stupid line. It's his win condition at 24-1. He's got to get him out. He's got to get him out early within probably the first 4.5 minutes of the fight. Jack can be grappled versus certain guys. He can be subbed. I'm not saying that I think it's gonna happen, but 24-1 for what his win condition is seems to be a little bit wide.
Yeah, I agree with you. If you're gonna play Burns, it's probably that. I mean, how else does Burns win? Does he go into round 2 and he looks fresh and he finds a sub in round 2? I honestly don't see it. I don't see this guy, short notice, flying over to Australia. He's already shown a terrible, terrible gas tank. He's shown that he can wilt pretty damn quick under duress. So, I mean, what what other way does he? Maybe he does some crazy meme knee like he did to Landwehr and finishes somehow that way. I think maybe that's the other sentiment, that he can possibly get a meme. But yeah, I don't see it, man. I don't. I think this guy is like 3/4 of the way out the door. Moving on, fight number 5. It is in the flyweight division. It is the 9-2 Casey O'Neill versus the 8-1 Luana Santos. And this one's yours, Tim.
A really interesting fight. I think this is a good matchup. Some concerns on the Luana side. Obviously, she has to fly across the world. She just fought under a month ago. I don't think that she knew about this fight after her fight with Agapova. So she has to basically do another weight cut and probably wasn't training for the week after. And so don't know where her training's at. I do think she has cardio issues as well. She's can fight through it slightly, but I mean, she seems to slow down in round 3 in every fight, where I feel like Casey's kind of the opposite, where Casey's, similar to like a Sam Hughes, where she usually will lose round 1 and then start getting better in round 2 and round 3 and has cardio to do it and picks it up on fighters. So I think that like there's a good shot that Luana might be able to get her down in round 1, might be able to win round 1. It is possible that she can't and she loses round 1, but I just feel like I think Casey wins round 3 at a very high clip, and then it's just a question of round 2. So when you're looking at is it possible also that Luana could sub her early? I think it is. Casey doesn't seem to she can be taken down. She's been taken down by like the likes of like Roxanne Modafferi and those type of fighters. And Roxanne was like a million years old and blind as a bat, and she still got her down. But I tend to think that this fight goes, and I have like 3 in this fight, but they're all kind of correlated. I have Casey by points at plus 290, Casey by split. Even if she loses, I think in her hometown, she could get some fuckery at plus 800. And I think a draw is potentially live here too. Like, I think that it's possible that Luana might be able to get her down in the first 2 rounds and then get absolutely beat to shit, but survive in round 3 and get it 10-8 in round 3. So I super rarely call a draw, but I think that this fight actually has potential for a draw.
Yeah. I don't hate that look. Draw. I could see round 3 being hairy for her and then her surviving, because it's WMMA at the end of the day. But yeah, I think there's a huge cardio edge, like massive here. I know Santos is 24, she's improving, but I still think the cardio is a problem here. She's taking this fight on short notice, again, flying all the way to Australia. I'm going to keep mentioning that because I think that's important. And I mean, you're flying all the way there. You're taking a fight on very short notice. We've seen you gas before in more than one fight. And on top of it, I think she's a terrible striker in the sense that her hands, that Juliana Miller fight, it was like very funny watching her throw those punches against Miller. And Miller's just awful at striking, and it didn't look good. It wasn't pretty. Luana has maybe good kicks, but her hands are pretty damn bad. She has the judo throws, obviously. I think she can get Casey O'Neill down by the judo throw. But I think Casey O'Neill is extremely tough. I think she has very good cardio. She has very good volume, and she's going to keep coming, man. And if Luana Santos is not ready for that in rounds 2 and 3, and just go back and look at her career, even in amateurs, she's got a bunch of stoppages in round 2 and 3. And it's mainly because she breaks her opponents. It's not like she hits very hard. She breaks them with the volume and pressure and cardio. So I'm expecting a bounce back for her, honestly. 2 straight losses in her hometown. I I kind of feel like this is the bounce back for her. The initial opponent was Teresa Bleda, who's also a known gasser, very bad. So I think they gave her a kind of like a similar opponent in the sense that, this girl's going to probably have to grapple and get the fight to the ground. Standing, I don't think it's going to be great for her, to be honest. I don't think Casey O'Neill is like some great striker. I just think she has better hands, and she's going to have the volume, the volume edge and the cardio. So Casey O'Neill, round 2, round 3, 13 and 2000. Yeah, I think that's the way I'm going to go here. I usually play these based on cardio. If I feel like there's a big cardio edge, and I feel like there is a big cardio edge here, along with the short notice aspect. So let's move on. Fight number 6. It is in the featherweight division. It is the 11-3-1 Josh Kulabau versus the 16-6 Ricardo Ramos. And I will kick this one off. I kind of feel like Ramos is a quitter, to be honest, man. I don't like what I've seen from this guy. He's been finished in 5 of his 6 losses. I think there's a reason for that. Multiple times, this guy has shown he can break. Meanwhile, the opposite can be said of Kulabau, right? The guy just fights through adversity. He's extremely tough. Not easy to finish at all. One thing I do hate about Kulabau, he gives up his back often when he goes to get back up, or even standing, like he gives up his back. So that's a concern, where Ramos is a elite BJJ guy. He can jump on your back, and he's very, very dangerous there. I think Kulabau has to watch out for that. I think his defense, as far as submission defense, is pretty good. However, I think he's the much better striker of the two, in my opinion, hands-wise, right? Kick-wise, I do think Ramos has some kicks to him, but I think his hands are much cleaner. His punches are much straighter. He hurt LaRon Murphy on the feet, made Murphy grapple. He hurt Danny Silva on the feet multiple times. I mean, think about that Silva fight. If that's Ramos eating those shots on the feet, is he even fighting through that? I highly doubt it. Even against LaRon Murphy, is he fighting through that? I highly doubt it. Yeah, I mean, I just think when you look at Josh Kulabau, I think the guy is a lot tougher. He's got more grit. I like that when it comes to MMA. I think that goes a long way in MMA, fighting through adversity. One guy does it, one guy doesn't do it. Give me Josh Kulabau by KO here at plus 380. The only thing that scares me is this guy Ramos has tapped pretty damn quick to guillotines, and I'm very afraid that he does that and my KO kind of loses. But I'm just gonna go with KO. It's plus 380. I think he knocks him out, honestly. Kulabau hits hard. It doesn't show it on his record, like as far as having a lot of knockouts. But I mean, he dropped Choi twice. He dropped Jourdain. And we know these guys are tough. He hurt Murphy. He hurt Silva. All these guys are way, way tougher. Everyone that I mentioned there is way tougher than Ramos is. So, yeah, I think he finds a KO here finally, and it's plus 380.
Yeah, I've said for a bunch of fights, I think that Kulabau has underrated power. I think a lot of his fights, like you're saying, he hurts guys and maybe just doesn't get them out. But obviously, he went to the draw with Kulabau, or not Kulabau, with Jourdain. So it just, I don't know. It's to me, I think that you said it about Ramos. I mean, these guys are fighters. It's a question, like they're literally UFC fighters, and one of these guys fights and the other guy doesn't. Like it's just really good hammer, really, really awful nail for Ramos. And the worst part about him getting subbed wasn't him getting subbed. It was how he got subbed in the last 2 fights. Like he could easily have fought out of those positions, like easily. Like he had to just, he had the last one, it was even worse. I mean, I think that Erosa obviously has a tight squeeze, and, he got C-Rod out with his Gilly last fight. But I mean, in that position that Ramos was in, he just didn't do anything to push and fight hands, and just all he did. He actually had the leverage too in that situation when he was on his feet. So yeah, I just think I'm not going to get super cute with it, and I'm going to give a little bit of a whisper bet here after I give the basic one. Round 2 for Kabaub plus 1,000. Round 3 for Kabaub plus 1,300. But my whisper bet is going to be sub 2 plus 3,700. Sub 3 plus 4,700. I do think that it is possible that he could get a guillotine on this guy after he bonks him and then he comes in concussed.
All right, sub 2, sub 3 for the whisper bet for Tim. Let's move on. Fight number 7. It is in the heavyweight division. It is the 5-2 junior Tafa versus the 11-1 Walter Walker. And this one's yours, Tim.
I've been on the fence on this fight over and over and over all week long. I'm like, this is just the definition of a binary fight. Not only is it binary, so either one of these guys could get their game off and fuck the other person up, most likely. Clearly, Tafa has a striking edge. Clearly, Walter Walker has any and every grappling edge. I think that Tafa's initial takedown defense is okay. I think if you chain takedowns or have a power double leg against him, he's kind of fucked. And I just think, I don't know. I just don't really know. I'm not super confident in this fight. So I was looking at it like saying, not really confident. So I'm going to take some really, really long shots and the longest ones we got and hope and pray to the gods that it works out. I think Walter Walker finishing this fight late is more likely than what the odds are suggesting. I know that he gasses. I do understand that. I also know that Usman had positions on Tafa that if he didn't just lay and pray and do nothing, I don't think that Walter Walker will do what Usman did in some of those positions. So I think round 2, round 3 for Walter is 1,100 and 1,800. And I'm like, borderline double whispering bet here. I won't whisper it this time, but sub 2 is 3,400, sub 3 is 50 to 1. I do think an arm triangle or something like that is possible in this fight. Get to side, get mount, have him turn his back, and then take the neck. But I do think he could ground and pound him too. So that's why I said for round 2 being 11 to 1, round 3 18 to 1. I mean, those are like Casey O'Neill like numbers. Like, you can't tell me in a heavyweight fight with a guy that grapples, if he gets on top of a guy that is a literal turtle if he's on his back, and he has like virtually zero chance of getting up, and he's never gotten up when he gets taken down against guys. Like, that just seems stupid to me. So do I think it's possible that he could get easily killed in this fight? Yes, for sure. He could easily, like, Tafa could get his game on, he could kill him. But I just think that those round props for Walter are just kind of stupid.
Yeah, I agree with you. Almost everything you said, honestly. I have Walter Walker by sub at plus 1,000. I think he can. The big difference between him and Usman is Usman will sit in half guard with the guard wide open. He could have passed like a million times. We were so mad. I remember, like, come on, dude, pass. He would not pass. He just wouldn't pass. He's like, I'm cool. I'm chilling in half guard the whole time, just wide open guard like of Tafa, like no problem. But I've seen Walter Walker over and over again. He'll slide to mount. He'll put he'll work to pass and try to get to mount. And he's a big dude, a really big dude. The other thing I think that's important here, and there was a lot of talk of him looking in better shape and being in better shape. And he absolutely is in better shape. First fight in the UFC, 264. This fight in the UFC, 4 months later, 252. So he lost 12 pounds. I think that's good for him. That might also, the other thing I like to mention. Yeah, he's shown that he kind of tires in fights as well. He doesn't have the best cardio. But I also think that first fight, kind of UFC jitters, first fight in the UFC. I kind of want to give people breaks. I know his striking's god awful. His defense is god awful. But he has a nice double leg, man. He has a nice double leg. He's very big. And if you can flatten out Tafa, I think that's round over or fight over, to be honest. So he might be able to do that. The one thing that Bresky did well is he'll give up his back and try to get up every single time. And, with heavyweights, it's hard to put hooks in. We know that. It's these guys are not that agile to sink hooks in and try to get the back, right? So for heavyweights, you should possibly be giving up your back and trying to get up, right? He does that. Tafa just like, dude, he doesn't do much when he gets down. He's trying to work back up, but it's like he shrimps a couple of times and that's about it. He's flat and he's done. So the submission prop on Walker at plus 1,000 is what I like, but my whisper bet for this one is the sub 2-3 here at 3,200 and 4,900 on Walter Walker. I think if you can get to these good positions here, arm triangle is live. I do think he has an RNC before. Yeah, I mean, Tafa's probably a 0 on the ground. I'm not saying Walter's a 10, but even at a 5 or a 4 at these numbers, I'm gonna take a shot. He might not get it, but they're astronomical numbers for a guy that will grapple, right? That's all we need for him to grapple. And if you want to just take round 2, round 3, that's fine too. I do think it could be ground and pound against Tafa. Moving on, fight number 8. It is in the welterweight division. It is the 19-8 Jingliang Li versus the 19-6 Carlos Prates. Kind of went back and forth on this one. Prates is a slow starter. He kind of works his way into fights. He's not really, if you watch a lot of his fights, he starts slow. Even the last one where he finished in round 1, he kind of started slow, kind of measuring his guy, and then got him out of there. Giles' fight started very slow. He lost round 1 and then found the finish in round 2. Lee has never been finished. That's the thing. He's never been KO'd, I should say. He's never been KO'd. He's pretty durable, but he's been hurt in a lot of fights. I'm going to give one bet here and one bet only. Prates has shown that his cardio is pretty damn good. I've seen him go 3 rounds. He looks very good later in fights. He still carries his power. The guy has many round 2 and beyond finishes. Jingliang Li, he's been out of the game for a while, man. We don't know what he'll look like later in this fight. I will say one thing. It was a terrible look how he looked in round 3 against what's that tall guy's name? Let me look at it. Sorry. Neil Magny. He looked horrible in round 3 against me. Magny was putting up against the fence, throwing shots at him. And I think that's a bad look for him. Prates is going to poke you with those teeps. He's going to throw leg kicks. He's going to put it on you, but the one thing I will say with Prates, he's a very good striker, but he eats a lot of shots, on the feet. He tends to be countered a lot. Lee has a lot of power, so he's got to be careful with that. Lee's obviously coming off this terrible injury, so I don't know what to make of that. However, I think the length is a problem here for him. The southpaw style is a problem for him. I watched him against D-Rod, and he kind of was confused on how to fight this southpaw. I think inside leg kicks are good for him. Just kicking at the legs, trying to poke and prod at Prates and moving him back. Being on your back foot against Prates is terrible, terrible news. Giles was on the front foot, had the right plan up until he started backing up, and then he got iced. So what I saw against Magny was bad. He was on the back foot a lot. And if you're going to be on the back foot a lot against this guy, he's going to absolutely demolish you. So Prates round 3 for me, Tim. Just round 3, 850. I don't even want to mess with KO or a sub because I could see Lee going into a choke, some kind of front choke, because this guy has jiu-jitsu. Don't kid yourself. And he mentioned it on a interview. He says, don't sleep on my jiu-jitsu. I got really, really good jiu-jitsu. And I've seen him off his back. Like he is threatening people a lot. And he has very long limbs. So I don't want to mess with, KO or sub for round 3, but round 3, 850 in general. That's all I'm taking here.
Yeah, I could not be less confident in this fight. I don't know where to go in this one. It's all I loved watching the stat diggers this week. I was laughing my ass off when Wheezy was calling him Lee Jingeling. I was dying. So props to him on that. Lee is clearly the best fighter that Prates has fought. And I just think that I'm not really confident in this take in this fight. There's certain fights I'm a little bit more confident in. This one, I was just been going back and forth a bunch. Lee hits really, really hard. Prates has been knocked out by guys before. Like you said, Prates, his offense is elite. He takes his time getting into fights. Lee is primarily a counter striker that can hit really hard. I think that there's times that he'll probably have some moments. I could see this being like a early, late situation. Early, probably Lee has success, and late, Prates has success, and round 2 is just a question mark. So I could see this being like an end split. Prates by split is 9-1. Prates by points is 280. Lee by split is 16-1. I think it's probably a Prates decision, probably for bigger moments and a little bit more volume and just kind of looking better later on as the fight goes. So yeah, I think that those three would be solid for me. Prates by points 280, Prates by split 9-1, Lee by split 16-1.
Yeah, I could see those outcomes as well. Moving on, fight number 9. It is in the heavyweight division. It is the 14-7 Tuivasa versus the 14-5 Jairzinho Rosenstrike. And this one's yours, Tim.
Interesting heavyweight fight. This is just really going to depend on how does Ty fight in this fight. Does he come out just complete balls to the wall against a counter striker in Jairzinho? And I tend to think that he probably will. But I also think that Jairzinho is a guy that can be, when he's threatened against like really, really big strikers, he doesn't always like go into the fire, and he can kind of avoid and jab. And he's not always like a early kind of KO kind of guy where he's similar kind of to Prates, unless he's fighting like Chris Dawkis's of the world, where he just knows that he's going to kill these guys. Then he can go more aggressive. But outside of that, he took 4 rounds to get Gaziev out. He just jabbed his face off, and then Gaziev quit. So it wasn't even really a knockout. It was a TKO, and he just quit on the stool. Gon took 3 rounds, the end of 3 rounds, to get Ty out as well. That easily, again, he connected with him at the end of that round. I think Ty can actually take some shots for a while. So I'm leaning Rosenstrike round 3 at plus 1,400 and Rosenstrike by points at plus 700. And if you want to get greasy, if you think that there's some fuckery from the judges, his Rosenstrike by split is 20-1. So round 3 plus 1,400, points is 7-1.
Yeah, I like Rosenstrike here, man. I just think he's the guy that's training harder, the guy that's taking MMA a little more serious. Outside the ring, props to Tuivasa. He's made a lot of money. He's got his own companies. The guy is doing well, and props to him. That's the way to do it, right? Build your brand, because you can't really fight forever, right? And fighting is a hard game to stay in for years and years. So he did the right thing. He built his whole image off the shoey thing, and it became huge. He's got like almost 1 million followers. This guy has a lot of sponsors. So props to him, but he's not really, doesn't seem like he's training for fights, man. He's coming in at the heavyweight limit every single time. The guy comes and just swings hammers. There's no other part of his game that's even his striking is not good. It's just he's got power and he's kind of tough. But we've seen that's not carrying him a long way lately, right? 4 straight knockouts. One of them, 2 of them are subs, but been finished in the last 4. Just, an overall not a great look. UFC's probably never getting rid of this guy, to be honest. Just so big and popular that, people love to go see him. So they're just not going to get rid of this guy. This guy probably has one of those lifelong contracts as long as he wants to be there, and it's heavyweight. But yeah, Raz, a lot of his, not a lot, but a decent amount of his KOs have come later. Tuivasa's been finished 4 times in the later rounds, in round 2 and 3. So he's shown a pretty good chin early, but as the damage progresses, he seems to be getting people get him out of there. And I think that's what's going to happen here, man. I think Raz in round 2 and round 3 is good look here, 600 and 1400. He carries his power late. I think he's going to be damaging him even from a cut or something. It could happen. Don't put KO2 or KO3. I think they're almost the same lines, to be honest. So don't do that.
Yeah, the same.
So just do Raz round 2, 600. Raz round 3, 1400. I really believe he's going to finish him in one of those rounds. Moving on. Fight number 10. It is in the lightweight division. It is the 24-2 Matthias Gamrot versus the 23-12 Dan Hooker. Interesting fight, man. Hooker's look pretty damn good, to be honest. Very impressed with him in that Jalen Turner fight. An absolute war. Looked really good in that fight, man. Jalen Turner's not an easy guy to fight. Got hurt there, hurt Turner back. Just extremely durable and tough dude. He's going to fight for your money. Takedown defense is a bit iffy. He's not really faced a chain wrestler, chain grappler like Guys Gamrot. He did early in his career. He got taken down a bunch, but I'm pretty sure he's improved that takedown defense now. And Gamrot, we know what he is. He's going to shoot a million takedowns. He's going to try to get you down, but he allows people to get back up quite often. Hooker, I think, is going to try to get up. He's not going to just try to sit there and play jiu-jitsu off his back against this guy. We saw him kind of ragdoll Rafael Dos Anjos, rinse and repeat takedowns. But I think Dos Anjos is kind of at the tail end of his career, right? And so, we saw Dos Anjos get grappled by what's his face? He's looked awful. Who's the guy that grappled Dos Anjos pretty hard?
Was it Luque?
Luque. Yeah, and that's a red flag right there in of itself, right? So if Luque is doing that to you at this point in juncture in his career, what do you think Gamrot would do? And Gamrot, absolutely schooled him in wrestling. But yeah, man, here I think this is not going to be that easy. I think he's going to land takedowns. It's about the control. Can he hold him down? Can he keep him there? I think Hooker's going to get back up. And we always mention this, and I think it worked out for me last week. It's damage over control, and damage I think is going to come from Hooker. Hooker's going to land the bigger strikes. Gamrot's striking is not all that. We've seen him hurt and dropped in many fights, right? I think Hooker can hurt him. I think Hooker can drop him even, but his recoverability is next level, dude. Like, he recovers very quick, gets takedowns even after he gets hurt. So Hooker decision, super sneaky here, in my opinion. 7-1 on the Hooker decision here. Kind of think that's extremely live. As also in Australia, we talk about that too. I think he can get that one here. Gamrot might be able to get him down, but I think he lands the bigger shots on the feet. And Gamrot, for me, just does not do enough damage when he gets people down. So unless he can just absolutely control him for 12 minutes, 10 minutes, I think this Hooker decision line is going to look really good at plus 700.
Yeah, I think that Gamrot, his jiu-jitsu is actually really, really good. He doesn't get a chance to use it a lot, obviously. Like you're saying, a lot of these guys get up. And I think that if Hooker, again, we haven't seen him versus like elite grapplers in a long time. The last one, obviously, like probably the most elite grappler that we've seen in a long time since Kabaub was Islam, and Islam just murdered him on the ground. Like he would do that to most people, but there was just zero chance of him getting up in that fight. I think if Hooker tries to get up in this fight, which he will, I think there's going to be multiple opportunities for Gamrot to take his back. I also feel that Gamrot's lone sub. I also don't think that like Gamrot's lone sub in the UFC was a Kimura, which also was what Islam got against Hooker as well. And I just don't know like the physicality on Hooker versus Gamrot in this fight. Like I kind of feel like Gamrot's a decent amount stronger than him. So we'll see, but I lean for Gamrot by sub. I think also there's the narrative out there right now that Dana's talking to all these wrestle fuck type guys and saying, you guys better make your fights more exciting and start doing something. And, you know, and then we're starting to see guys like Carl Williams not shoot 2 takedowns in a fight versus a striker and kickboxer. And I just think that if Gamrot's taken that to heart and he's concerned about getting a title shot because he needs to be more exciting, then maybe he starts to go for more subs and tries to do a little bit more ground and pound to set up the sub. So Gamrot by sub is plus 500. If you want to get greasy on MGM, Gamrot by Kimura is plus 3,000. So,
yeah. You know what caught my eye? I looked at that and I thought maybe I'm going to play sub. But then I went back in his career, even in the regionals, and his subs are like they're like meme-ish type of subs, you know? Like even in the regionals, like he doesn't have a lot of subs, you know, even though he's an ADCC level grappler, you know, but it's like heel hooks, key locks, Kimuras. It's not like your traditional, like rear naked for MMA. I'm talking about like traditional, you know, take his back, rear naked choke, or get an arm bar. Like it's just, you know, even an arm triangle, something like that. I don't think he's ever even had an arm triangle finish, you know? So it's like, he doesn't seem like he has like MMA type of submission skills. You know what I'm saying? Like he's like key lock.
It seems like he has the skills. It just seems like he's so content with winning a decision. Like he's so
like look, I'm looking at his career. It's Kimura in the UFC 1, key lock 2. He's got 5 submissions total only. Even in the regionals, like heel hook, and then finally he has a guillotine in his second fight. Like he just doesn't really.
Don't you think
that he's subbing him, man? Honestly, unless he maybe gets a key lock or something like that, or some Kimura.
Don't you think that also, like, because I know you're on the points for Hooker, and I said this on the Casey O'Neill fight, and I really don't go draws a lot, like at all. But don't you think a draw is even possible in this fight, where Gamrot wins 2 rounds by grapple fuck, and then he gets just survivability of a 10-8 and gets knocked down twice or gets beat one round?
The only thing is, I feel like if he gets hurt, he's probably going to clinch and wrestle. That's what he does. Right. And then that takes kind of away from the 10-8 a little bit. Like he needs to.
A knockdown helps tremendously. He gets knocked down almost every fight, right?
Yeah, knockdown helps, but you need a lot more damage because knockdowns, right. It's not like it's boxing, right? You need to knock him down, but beat the shit out of him close to finish. And then on top of it, you need to kind of dominate. You cannot I cannot beat you up, almost finish, and then get taken down and be put on my back for 2 minutes. Like you're not going to get a 10-8 anymore. So I feel like that's the only issue with this one, right?
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate. I trust me. I looked at the sub, and then I kind of went through his career, and I'm like, man, these subs are just not the type of subs that you're gonna get at this level very often. You know, it's just hard to get these type of subs.
The Kimura bet on MGM is also a key lock. Just so everybody knows.
Yeah, key lock Kimura. What is it? 3,000 or something?
Yeah.
I think. I mean, historically, from what he's done, I mean, that's probably the way if he gets one. But I don't really know. I don't know if he gets one here. Well, I think if Gamrot wins, it's probably decision.
Tuivasa in the KO loss to him had his leg. I mean, that's the thing. Like he had him in that
bar. He had a knee bar. Yeah. I think it was a knee bar.
Correct. I'm just saying he did have a position on him to get something like that. So I don't know.
But Tuivasa is doing that Imanari roll, and he's trying to get legs. Like he's just a different type of. Like, Gamrot's not like going for your legs like that. He's probably just trying to wrestle, right, and get you down on your back. It's a little bit different. The other guy just has no way of getting you down. Tuivasa just couldn't get him down. It was funny, that fight. Oh my God. That was one of my biggest bets actually on
That was one of mine as well. That was a great card. Him and Blanchfield, that card, 2 max bets.
Yeah. All right. Co-main event of the night. It is in the flyweight division. It is the 24-11 Kai Kara France versus the 12-2 Steve Ursig, and this one's yours.
I keep going back to this. I have a few of these fights where I'm confident in, and then I have a few of these fights where I'm just like back and forth, back and forth. Both of these guys have been guys that I've tried to fade. Like I've tried to, like I didn't bet a lot against Ursig. I had Pantoja in the last fight. I thought that the Dvorak fight with Ursig is like he had moments against Ursig, or Ursig had moments against Dvorak in every round and then knocked him down in one round. But I thought he was losing basically every round until the moments. And it just thought, and we've seen what Dvorak is like in his last couple fights. So I think that that's like a minus sign for Ursig. I thought his last fight, obviously against Pantoja, this is like the classic, like, all right, fought for a title fight. Now he's not. Everybody knows that narrative. Okay, great. But it's not even that. It's more fighter with a great performance and a loss. Like, and now we're paying again for, fighter with a great performance and a loss. Like, is it going to be easy for him to strike with primarily a really good striker? These guys are both solid offensive strikers. I think that the defense on Kai striking is maybe a little bit better than Ursig. I think Ursig has a chance. He tends to get hit by guys. He can be hurt. He was hurt in the Silva fight. Then you look at the Kai side and you're like, okay, well, Kai is a guy he's been in a bunch of these fights where he's virtually almost subbed, like inches away from being subbed, and somehow survives and then wins a fight. He did it against Askar. Askarov had his back in round 1 for 4 minutes, was trying to lock in subs. Kai has gotten a lot better later in his career. Early in his career, he did not do this well, but now he's pretty good at fighting hands. And he did that against Askar, and then he also did that against Boncharin, who had virtually the sub locked in round 1 and then didn't get it, death gas, and then gets killed later in the round. So it's just a situation where I'm going back and forth on it. So I have two little reads on this one. I think if it's a standing fight for 15 minutes, I think end split 3-1 isn't bad, but I don't hate the shot on Ursig by sub at the line. I was expecting the line to be like Ursig sub 450 or 500, and they're giving you 700 on it. So I like those two for this fight. I don't know if Ursig's going to really try to grapple a lot, and I don't really know how good of a wrestler he is. I can't really tell, to be honest. So I think Ursig by sub plus 700 and ends by split 300 are good by me.
Yeah. I think this is a pretty close matchup, honestly. Overall, I think Kai Kara France has good takedown defense. Good striking. He's a good overall fighter. But I also think the same with Ursig. I think Ursig is actually the cleaner hands of the two. I think his hands are cleaner. He's got very good boxing, very good Muay Thai, very good jiu-jitsu, honestly. This guy's a very well-rounded fighter. It's funny, I was saying it also on Liam's pod. This guy in less than a year, Tim, came into the UFC just out of the blue. Like, I think it was even short notice. Short notice, came into UFC in less than 1 year. 3 wins. He gets 3 wins versus, honestly, not very good, like the best opponents. Like, Schnell is his best win, and Schnell is like done. And then Dvorak and Costa, and then he gets a title shot, dude. It's unheard of for a guy that come in on short notice into the UFC and just go on a 3-fight run. In under a year, he gets a title shot. So I think his run kind of to the title was a little flaky. Like, it's not fair to kind of some of the other people, to be honest, that have been like grinding their ass off to try to get there. And this guy just comes out of the blue and just wins 3 fights and say, okay, here you go, title shot. However, he looked pretty good in that fight. I mean, he kept coming, you know, he put the pressure on Pantoja, and it is what it is. He got grappled a lot, but the guy is extremely tough. You know, he made some questionable decisions, which it's okay, man. It's a biggest fight of his career. Guy has only 14 fights in his fight career. He's still only 29. So I could see him making mistakes. That's fine. You know, how fighters react to a loss when they have a title shot usually is not very good. But I think in this guy's case, I don't think it's that bad because he's so young still. And two, he kind of was fortuitous to even get this title shot, right? So the thing is, I think Kai Kara does engage in some grappling in a lot of his fights. And I think Usyk is extremely dangerous, and he needs to be careful here because I do think Usyk can probably get a sub here, to be honest. Looking at Kai Kara France, he's been sub 3 times. You know, obviously those guys, couple of them were very early, but Royval got him in a guillotine, and I do think Usyk can maybe wrap up something at plus 600. I don't mind it. It's plus, it could even be club and sub. Plus 600 Usyk submission is what I'm going to go with here. But I do think overall this probably goes to decision. It's going to be a close fight, to be honest. With that being said, 307 viewers. Thank you for joining, guys. I know I'm not in my like little crazy mood as usual, pumped up and stuff, but appreciate you guys for being here. We will move on to the main event of the night. It is in the middleweight division. It is 21-2 Jenkins du Plessis versus the 24-3 Israel Adesanya. And I will kick this one off. Extremely good fight, man. I went back and forth on this fight. I don't have a bet on this fight because I think probably the line's about accurate. I like Izzy a lot. I think if it's the old Izzy, probably can win this fight here. Should be about a maybe 150, 160 favorite if it's the old Izzy, but we kind of don't know, you know. Yeah, his physique looks good, but I mean, that's only one part of the equation. You know, the takedowns is important here. I don't know how he's going to be dealing with the physicality of DDP because, you know, he has been taken down by guys that have wanted to grapple him. Jan was one of them, obviously at 205, but Whitaker got him down. Vittori got him down. This guy's more physical than those guys. You know, if he wants to get you down, he usually gets people down. You know, he's extremely strong and he's got very dangerous, awkward striking. That's the other thing. Like punches come from very different angles. His kicks, he's throwing at like 100 miles per hour, trying to kill you. But then you have Adesanya, and he's got great footwork, very good jab, very good striking. DDP has shown that he can get hit a lot. He's looked sloppy in a lot of fights, but just always finds a way to win, which is, you know, what you want to do, right? The equalizers, you want to win at the end of the day, and he always finds a way to win. It was a very close fight against Strickland. A lot of people had Strickland. A lot of people thought DDP won. We've seen these 5-round fights over and over again play really close. I think this, in my opinion, is going to play very close. If it does get to the scorecards, I think this is a split waiting to happen. You know, DDP is going to probably have the bigger moments, you know, takedowns, big takedowns, probably landing the bigger shots. But Adesanya is, I think, going to outstrike him. I think he's going to land more. Split decision total on this fight is plus 550. If you like one side or the other, yeah, go for it. But I'm going to go with the split here. Fight ends in split, the plus 550. I think it's a very close fight. What do you think here, Tim?
Yeah, we talked pre-show, and we both agreed that that's definitely an outcome that's possible with these 5-round fights, man. It always seems like, for whatever reason, that these main event fights, that one of the judges is like on peyote or mushrooms or something and just not watching the same fight as the other two guys. And even if it's pretty clear, you get these just insane splits on, you know, if it's, you know, Jack Hermanson versus was it who he had one where he went to split with, then he had
where he got killed. Yeah.
And then you get like, there's just so many examples of it where you're just like, what the fuck just happened? Cheeto versus Sandhagen, like all these just stupid, like what is happening in these fights? So if it does go, I do think that it's end split is definitely live as well. I tend to think like in this fight, like I like Izzy in this fight for a bunch of reasons. am a little bit more confident in this fight, but I do see that there's winning potential for both these guys. But the reason I'm more confident in this fight is I just think that like it's going to be 5 rounds, and the speed of Izzy compared to like a guy like Darren Till, who when he was able to keep the fight standing against Dricus was just absolutely lighting him up and just countering him and moving around and just jabbing him and just completely able to fight off of his back foot. Izzy can absolutely do that for 5 rounds. We've seen it before over and over and over. He's got that where he's got an insane reach advantage. He's taller. The reach is going to be huge here in this fight. I don't think that anybody that's comparing like the success that Sean Strickland had striking versus Izzy to this fight is like, just throw it out. There's nothing similar about the way that Sean Strickland boxes than the way that Dricus boxes. Like, these are just completely different with how they fight. And Sean Strickland's defense and head strike defense is like elite. And even though his style is to walk everybody down and to get into a fucking phone booth with him. So it's like, he's really, really excellent at doing that. And I think that Izzy wasn't ready for that. And he also wasn't ready for the power from Sean. And he didn't respect that he could actually hurt him. And then after the first round, he's like, fuck, this guy can hurt me. So I think that this is a fight where Izzy knows like, okay, this guy's he's going to be walking me down, but he's not going to have the same defense that Sean has. And I'm going to be able to hit him. And I just need to make sure that I defend the takedowns and I stay at range and I keep moving. And if he does that, I think that Izzy should be able to either win a decision here. But I'm going to go with Izzy KO 310. I thought that Till had some moments against him. I think that he gets rocked in a lot of the fights. He does fight through it, so it could easily go to decision. But KO is plus 310. KO 3-4 is plus 1,000. So yeah, I kind of like. I think the fight from a money line perspective, I'm confident in Izzy. But from a props perspective, I'm not super confident in this fight. I think Izzy could win a clear decision. I think it could be a close decision, or I think he could KO him. So yeah.
Yeah. Interesting fight. Yeah. I'm looking forward to it. 310 people in here. Please, guys, hit the like down below. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel. It helps out. Comment below after the video, whatever, whoever's watching it on replay, comments, questions, whatever. I try to answer them as much as I can. With that being said, Tim, Lambo Parlay time. I think I'll kick it off here really quick. I will have a couple of them here. One of them is going to be Josh Kulabau by KO, Kenan Song by KO, and then you take those two and you kind of mix them with the Raz round 2, round 3. One of them is going to give you 58-1, and the second one, round 3, is going to give you 125-1. That's the first one, and the second one is going to be a submission prop. It's going to be Stewart Nickel by sub, Steve Ercik by sub. It's 35-1 on that one. Tim, what do you have?
I have Jesus by points, Casey by points, Gamrot by points is 31-1. And then I have Erceg and Gamrot by sub at 41-1.
Wait, Jesus by points, Casey by points. What's the third one?
I did Gamrot by points because I have Gamrot and sub in the other one, but I do think it's most likely a decision for him. And those are 31-1. And then that's all it is.
What the hell? Because isn't Jesus like 5-1?
I put it in at 4.5-1.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I'm gonna check it out on Hard Rock. It's probably a bit better.
It'll be better, yeah, most likely. So then Erceg and Gamrot.
Him decision, O'Neal decision,
and Gamrot.
And the third one is Gamrot decision.
Yeah.
That one's gotta be yucky, right? Yeah, it's 40-1 on Hard Rock, so it's a little bit better.
Okay. So yeah, 40-1 and then 41-1 on Erceg sub and Gamrot sub.
All right. That does it. Ball fights, UFC 305. Thank you for joining, everybody. 305 of you in here. For some reason, Twitter didn't work today. I have no idea what's going on. It says your sub is expired. I went to Twitter, but my sub is active. I have no idea what's going on with them. But Elon Musk needs to figure it out. Yeah. Thank you to everybody. Tim, any parting words do you have for everyone?
Love you guys. That's all. Love the chat.
Yeah. I like your shirt. Who is that? Is that Alex Pereira?
That is.
No. Who is it?
Alex versus Hill.
Oh, yeah. He's kind of, here you go, on a platter. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you to everybody, guys. If you are not in my Discord, link is down below. It's through Dub Club. Join there. All access to everything. Our live spaces, always been good. Yeah. Appreciate you guys. Thank you very, very much. And hopefully we cash those tickets for UFC 305